Much. The redistricting spotlight is back on Virginia. Democrats there now looking to appeal the state Supreme Court's Friday decision blocking the map that would give the left 4 more House seats. That decision is a major victory for Republicans ahead of the fall's midterm elections, especially with razor-thin margins separating the majority-minority balance in both chambers of Congress. Here's former Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares.
I really respect what the Supreme Court did because they showed that this is why they exist. When politicians get in a line and they're not obeying the Constitution, our state Constitution, to get them back in the line, it's a win for the rule of law and it's a win for common sense.
The president also weighing in, saying this is a, quote, huge win for the Republican Party and America in Virginia. The National Republican Congressional Committee, a big part of the fight against Democrats' map. And with me now, chairman of the NRCC, North Carolina Republican Congressman Richard Hudson. Congressman, welcome.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
So what are your big picture takeaways from what we saw in Virginia late Friday?
Well, the Virginia Supreme Court gave a victory to the rule of law and the Virginia Constitution. You know, this unconstitutional power grab that the politicians in Virginia attempted, the court blocked it. And the people are the real winners.
Does that power play by Virginia Democrats trying to go from a 6-5 split in Virginia to 10-1, does that energize conservative voters going into the fall?
Well, I think it does, Mike. And if you look at the referendum they put on the ballot, you know, one of the reasons this was unconstitutional is because the wording of the referendum was very confusing. But if you look at the results of the referendum, a state that, you know, just elected a Democrat governor by 15 points was basically split. You know, half the state of Virginia voted no against the Constitution, against the referendum. The other half live in Fairfax and 3 other counties. So, you know, and they ran this campaign as a referendum on Donald Trump. You know, the whole campaign was stop Donald Trump, and we performed better across the state than we did just a few years ago. So I think it's a good sign for Republicans. I think it's a nightmare for Democrats.
I know your job as NRCC chair is to try to hold the Republican majority in the House and, if possible, build on it. How are things looking across the country with those efforts?
Fantastic. You know, we have a battlefield, a map that favors Republicans. We've got better candidates. We've gone out and recruited some of the best candidates we've ever had. The Democrats are in the middle of a civil war, and almost every one of these contested races, they have a very deep primary where they're all trying to out-Mamdami each other. And then you look at money. We're outraising the Democrats for the first time in a long time. We have an $8 million cash-on-hand advantage just among our committees. And then when you look at the RNC and other outside groups, Republicans have a cash advantage. So on all the metrics that matter, we're winning.
Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania says Democrats must come up with a better thing to run on than bleep President Trump. I want to play the clip, and I'll get you to react to it.
My colleagues and people that are running, whether for the Senate or the House, they are literally running on Trump. I mean, that's literally, they have campaign commercials with that, and it's absurd. And we are getting to that point, and I refuse to engage in that extreme, those terms. We have to find a better way forward.
How do you respond, and do you think your counterpart at the NRSC is calling Fetterman saying you can come on over?
Well, I agree with Senator Fetterman. You know, I would use different language, but he's exactly right. I mean, this referendum was basically stop Trump referendum, and they failed. In fact, we performed better than we did just a few years ago when President Trump was on the ballot. And if you look at the polling, you know, we just released polling on Friday, and our offensive targets, the Democrat seats we're trying to pick up, the generic ballots are +2, and the overall Democrat favorability is down 23 points. And it's because the Democrats don't stand for anything. They're for illegal immigrants, chaos, and stop Trump. Whereas Republicans, we're governing, and we're on a rescue mission to save the American people. We're trying to bring down costs. Thanks to President Trump, we've secured the border. We've made your neighborhoods safer. We are laser focused on helping the working families of this country, while the Democrats are still tacking to the left and really don't stand for anything.
Are there 1 or 2 items that Republicans on Capitol Hill must get done between now and November to really seal the deal?
I think we've already done that. In July of last year, we delivered the entire domestic agenda that Donald Trump promised the American people in the Working Families Tax Cut Act. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax for seniors. I think something like 70% of seniors are going to pay no tax now. We've delivered. But we're still working hard. Folks are still struggling. The Biden inflation has hurt this country. There's a lot of Americans still struggling, and we hear them, and we're working hard on issues like the price of housing. We're continuing to try to expand American energy to bring down the cost of everything. Republicans are laser focused on the needs of the American people. The Democrats are fighting over who's more mamdami than the other.
Richard Hudson, chairman of the NRCC, you got a busy 6 months ahead. Thank you very much for your time today, sir.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.